The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Teflon Pan Man. I'm the Teflon Pan Man. Ain't nothing gonna stick on me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to All You Can Eat, the podcast about deliciousness. This is episode number 42, and I'm your host, Rob Rosenthal, coming to you live from New York City, New York. Today is the 16th day of January. So we're a good month, basically, into the winter. It's 38 degrees here. In this town, most people are still following their New Year's resolutions, and they're keeping it clean. Me, not so much. And here's the thing about tonight's show. You know, oftentimes I'll have on a guest. Last week, in fact, we had Katie Workman, otherwise known as Mom 100. I had a long and lovely conversation with Katie about food and cooking and all that kind of stuff. She was fun. The week before, I was chatting with a guy by the name of Jeff, the 420chef.com. And Jeff is a guy who makes a living cooking high-end cuisine with cannabis for both well-being, I suppose, as well as, stoning, if you know what I'm saying. Tonight's show, however, you have me, just me, solo, operating solo, driving alone, which is good. I got some things to talk about. I just, I ask you to bear with me, though, because they're in no particular kind of super well organized order, but I can tell you that I got some stuff. I got some recommendations for you. So it's kind of a recommendation show in that way. Whether I'm talking about things that you can actually eat, things that you can buy, things that you can cook with, recipes that you may want to consider, those are the type of subjects we're going to cover tonight. And in fact, I'm going to offer you this telephone number in the event that you want to call in because you have a question about food, a question about cooking, a question about going out to eat at restaurants. Take advantage of what I know. Stump me, even. We can find out some things together if you want. You can call me at 800-508-5431. So, I mean, assuming the system is up and running, all things are working, 800-508-5431 to call into the show live. Tonight, January 16th, coming to you live, talking about things. Tonight's cocktail, incidentally, doesn't really have a name, but it's not complicated. I made it for myself. It is vodka. Choose whichever you like. And don't be fooled, my friends. Vodka is, by definition, odorless, colorless, tasteless. You shouldn't theoretically really know the difference in a blind taste test, but I trust you. You can trust me on this one, having worked in the vodka business before. There's a damn good chance that if you are blindfolded and you're tasting a series of vodkas, you're pretty much not going to know the difference. And generally speaking, in blind taste tests, in fact, there are some brands that you don't consider buying because you're busy buying some super premium high-end brands, and that's fine. I came from marketing. I'm not going to begrudge you whatever choice of vodka you like, but the second you put any, I mean, even if you could tell, and you can't, the difference, the second you put anything in it, whether it's vermouth or lemon or whatever it is, you make it even more difficult to distinguish one from the other. Anyway, the point is that tonight's cocktail is made with vodka. Mine is flavored with a hint of orange liqueur. And when I say a hint, I'm talking about a teaspoon. And when I say orange liqueur, I'm talking about Cointreau. And then the only other ingredient, and it's a critical ingredient, right? Because vodka Cointreau is going to be a touch sweet. You need something on the other side of that. And I use 1/2 of a freshly squeezed orange. Now, you could use any kind of citrus you want, right? You want to use some lemon. You want to use some lime. That's fine. You want to use grapefruit. That wouldn't hurt you. I happen to have oranges in the house. Cara, which I want to talk to you about in a second. And so 1/2 an orange gets squeezed into this drink, right? So I have 1/2 a squeezed orange, fresh. A little bit of Cointreau, teaspoon. Some vodka, as much as you like. I like a lot. And there you have a drink. And the key to that drink is whenever you make something with that you mix it with something that is fresh. Whether that's lemon or lime or grapefruit, as I said, or in my case, orange. Fresh is what makes the difference. Delicious cocktail. I mentioned the oranges. Those of you who have listened to the show before, welcome back. You know that I am the self-acknowledged Costco ho. Oh! I'm there every week. This week I bought a bag of Cara oranges, C-A-R-A, a bag of Cara oranges, and I'll tell you something about them. They are good. You know, much as I love the place, you can go into Costco and get a couple of things that aren't great. I've had bags of oranges I bought before that I thought were a waste of my time and money. But hey, this week, that bag of Cara, man, those are some good-looking oranges. You cut them open, and they're not like really orange. They're almost like, you know those Sicilian blood oranges? Well, they're not that color, but imagine if you married a Sicilian blood orange with a regular old kind of, sun-kissed type orange, and you ended up somewhere in the middle. So these oranges, the Cara that are on sale right now at the Costco, have a beautiful color. Now, don't be deceived. I mean, you could probably have a beautiful color and not have a great taste. But here's the good news. Here, my friends, is the good news. These oranges are freaking delicious. I mean, outstanding. I mean, great. I hated to waste one just for the juice for the cocktail because they're so good to eat. Which brings me to recommendation number 1. Happens not to be Costco or Cara oranges. If you're a member, go. If you like oranges, buy. But that's not actually where recommendation number 1 is. Recommendation number 1 to you is a product called Edge Keeper. Now, I preface this whole section on things that I recommend to you. I preface it by telling you that I believe in full disclosure. Very simple. If somebody sends me something, I'll tell you. If somebody's paying me, I'm going to let you know. If I like something, I will tell you that I like it. If I don't, I will tell you that I don't. Right? I mean, I've got nothing to lose. So that's how I roll, if you will. I was sent, for example, a product called Edge Keeper. A 2-stage electronic knife sharpener, right? You plug it in, turn it on, and there are 2 stages because one is kind of like, let's see, let me look at their PR and tell you specifically. Yeah, one is stage 1, your preliminary grind. Stage 2 is your precision grind. All right, so let's step back. People oftentimes want to know what are the most important tools to have in the kitchen. Are there any gadgets or this kind of thing that Let me make it easy. The first two things that you want to have in your kitchen, because you want to cook a little bit, you want to have a decent, pan. You want to have a good knife. My feeling on the knife is this. Obviously, you have to go with what you can afford, but as I've said before, good knives last longer than most marriages. In other words, if you invest in the good knife, you're going to have it for a long time. As far as pots and pans goes, you could go, two ways. One is that you can buy something really, really good that you're going to have for a long time. I got pieces like that, I'm sure. Your old clads, your Calphalons, and I don't know, your big name kind of super well-made industrial strength pots and pans. That's fine. You can do that. Or if you're on more of the budget, right? You can get some kind of decent non-stick. Even at the Costco, right? They sell some decent pans. $20, $30, $40. For 2 or 3 of them, even. They're non-stick. They're perfectly good, but they're not going to last you forever because they're gonna chip, and you're gonna scratch them, and you don't want to scratch those kind of things because I don't know. Anyway. We talk about pots and pans. We talk about knives. I'm going to recommend some pots and pans to you. I'm going to recommend the Edge Keeper, because when we talk about a knife being important and having a decent knife, the thing that you may not know is how important it is for it to be sharp. What do you think is more dangerous, in fact? A dull knife or a sharp knife? Well, it's kind of counterintuitive, but of course the dull knife is more dangerous because it doesn't hold the edge, as they say. Picture this. A sharp knife will cut through cleanly. Dull knife doesn't hold the edge. It is capable of slipping, and in the slipping is where it cuts a little piece of your finger. And I'm going to tell you from having spent time in the kitchen, when it comes to damage that you can do to yourself, of the top things that really, really hurt, number 2 is the incision of your finger. Not so good. But, you throw on your hydrogen peroxide, assuming you don't have to go to the hospital, you put some gauze around the thing and you tape it up and you move on. Whereas, the burn, oh man, there's your number 1 from my perspective. When you burn yourself, ooh, that noise hurts. Anyway, I regress, but the thing is, you want to actually have a sharp knife, because a sharp knife, used properly, is safer for you than a dull one. Most people don't sharpen their knives. Excuse me. And you have to, and you should. I mean, if you have a decent knife, let me suck down some cocktail. Hang on right here. And immediately the coughing goes away. When you have a sharp knife, you're working well, and but I'm saying most people don't sharpen them. Now you could take your knives out if you had a decent knife and you said, I've never really sharpened the thing. You could take it out and you could get it sharpened. You could probably do it at a hardware store, or you can look online and find somebody who sharpens knives, whatever. Some neighborhoods have a guy that rides around in a truck and does it. I've done that. Or you can sharpen it yourself. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to be honest. We learned how to do that in cooking school. You get like a stone. It's probably like a granite stone, and you're rubbing it, and you're rubbing it, and there's water, and you're rubbing the knife, and you're rubbing the knife, and it's a 45-degree angle. It's a pain in the ass. And you're probably not going to do that. And I don't do that. And I own the stone. I do. I own the stone. And I'm still not doing it. I love using my knives. And the thing I'm telling you is that they have to be sharp. So, back to it. It's the Edge Keeper, the two-stage electronic knife sharpener. So if you go online, let me see if I have it open here. Edge Keeper anywhere? No. I'm going to say that I actually don't have it open. I wonder if you... Well, the easy thing to do here is just to Google Edge Keeper, electronic knife sharpener. You can probably find that on Amazon. And I'm guessing I'm going to say like $37. There's others out there, but I've used this. I liked it. It's simple. The two-stage matters. One is kind of the first grind. The other is kind of a fine grind. Easy to do. You turn on the machine. You swipe the knife through a couple of times, and then all of a sudden, you're back to having a super sharp knife. God, love that. Love that. So thank you, Edge Keeper. Great product. Like I said, Edge Keeper. Find it online, and I'm guessing right around $37, and I recommend. It's by the way, it's clean, it's sleek, doesn't take up a lot of room, simple, on and off. That's all you need. There's even like a drawer you could take. You could delete the metal filings that you have. I mean, that's the idea behind sharpening. By the way, it literally finely tunes by grinding the knife to a finer edge. Oh God, I love having a sharp knife. I know it sounds like such a nerd, but that is the case. Now, having also mentioned, by the way, the whole kind of pots and pans thing, I owe some thanks to All Recipes Cookware. This kind of came out of nowhere, and I've had it for a long time, and they didn't ask for anything in return. But I got some cookware from the All Recipes folks. They seem to have their own cookware line. I didn't really think much of it. To be honest, I don't generally even refer to All Recipes. I know it's very popular online for people that are looking for recipes. I didn't know that they had a cookware line, but they do. And so a long time ago, they sent me their stuff. Here's what it is that I want you to know. All right? They have some fancy stuff like sizzle sensor, two-tone, anodized. I'm a simpleton. None of that stuff really mattered to me. There are two pieces that they sent me that I'm going to recommend to you. One was the 4-piece stackable saucepan set. That's fantastic. And the reason it's fantastic, other than that it's clean and it's organized, it's just great, is that, have you ever been asked to do any kind of like double boiling? You don't even know what I'm talking about. I use it for the chocolate. In other words, when you melt chocolate, you put it in a double boiler. Well, this stackable set kind of makes that automatic for you, right? So in the one saucepan is filled with water, it's boiling. You put another one right in there, and it fits in perfectly with your chocolate, and that melts without the direct heat. It's the indirect heat coming up from the steam of the first pan. So All Recipes does a 4-piece stackable saucepan set, particularly great if you're in a small space and you need to be efficient. The pieces kind of nestle together perfectly. You have the double boiler. You can use the base kind of pan, as I do, to make anything you would make in a regular old pan. Pot, I should say. You can use the middle pan, which is more of your kind of like small saute, to throw in an egg or anything you would use in kind of a small saute or frying pan. And the stuff, because it's stainless, honestly, it doesn't. Sometimes when you're working in not stainless, I should say nonstick. Sometimes when you're working in nonstick, and you use a little lubrication, which I do, oil, right? Like, the cleaning is kind of a joke. I mean, literally, you run it under hot water, it's clean. In this case, these pans and pots are safe to load in the dishwasher. And I've had these things for a year, and I've never once put them in the dishwasher. I just don't trust what happens in there. I mean, it sounds kind of funny to say that, but I don't put my decent pots and pans or knives in the dishwasher. That's me. These go in. And so it's great. And the other piece that I use, by the way, and I don't see it online, is they have a 5-quart. I love that 5-quart. It's wider. If I'm going to steam vegetables, if I'm going to make tomato sauce, even if I want to cook some pasta in it. So the 5-quart basic, non-stick, great. So there you go. Where would you find it? Allrecipes.com, cookware line. Super. Happy to recommend that one. Next, I want to talk to you a little bit about your spices. Spices. Every country has their own, and there's a lot of countries. Which means, for those of us who cook and those of us who like taste in food, there's a lot of different ways to bring flavor to food. And one of the easiest ways, and I think in some ways kind of underappreciated, is your spices, your herbs. But let's talk spices, because those can be dried and purchased. A lot of the herbs that you get, not all, you can go right into your supermarket and pick up, fresh thyme, which is woodsy and great if you're going to make like potatoes or that kind of thing. Mushrooms, sauteed mushrooms with thyme, beautiful. You pick up some rosemary, again, woodsy, great with the potatoes, super when you're roasting a chicken. You can pick up some tarragon. Oh, it's got that slight kind of licorishness to it, but I'll tell you something, I'm a tarragon lover. Man, if you want to have the greatest roast chicken in your life, which we'll talk about later, buy yourself some fresh tarragon and stuff the cavity and under the skin with tarragon. What a beautiful, beautiful fragrance that is. But when it comes to the spices, we're talking about stuff that basically is kind of, dried and sold in bottles. And the thing about it is that there's a whole bunch of them that'll change your life. I mean, that's, it's like, and one of the things that I like to do, and some of the spices that I've recommended in the past, and here I'm thinking about a spice called smoked paprika, which is also known as pimentone, or if you take a spice like ancho chili pepper, those are single, right? I grind up ancho chili peppers into a powder, and there you have ancho chili powder, and I've always loved that because it doesn't get you a ton of heat at all. It's not that spicy at all, but it's a beautiful, fragrant flavor that gives a kind of a whole Southwest flavor to the food. And when I talk about the smoked paprika, it's generally a Spanish. I mean, it comes from Spain. It's the thing that's so beautiful about it is that all you have to do is use a little pimentone, smoked paprika, on your dish to give it to make it smoky flavored. I'll tell you something I've never used. Seriously, I've been cooking a long time. I've never used a product called liquid smoke. And I'm kind of not interested in it. I mean, I'm sure it's fine, and I get why people would add it. But if I want a smokiness, whether it's in, scrambled eggs, or maybe it's in some chicken, right? Or maybe I use it on ribs. Maybe it goes in some type of sauce or dressing. I use a bunch of smoked paprika. So those two, the pimentone and the ancho chili, those are single spices, and yet a lot of the spices that I use and that I recommend and that are just fabulous are spice blends. So you may have, for example, when it comes to Indian food, like a masala spice. You may have, when it comes to say French food, you may have, for example, an herbs de Provence, right, which has 10 different spices in it. You may have, when it comes to Moroccan food, like a ras el hanout, right? A blend of 10. You may have my favorite spice from Ethiopia called berberry. Berberry's got, 10, 11 different things blended into it. So, long story short, imagine that. Imagine that you can take a pinch of a spice blend and apply it to a food. And in essence, you've given the food 10 different flavors, right? Like that's just awesome, right? And here's the truth. And I talk about it too much, but it's a fact. I like, let's say you have chicken wings and you want to do something different than you've ever done before with chicken wings. All you have to really do is hit them with a whole bunch of berberry. This beautiful, it's kind of fragrant, it's got flavors in it that you don't have in your spice drawer, man, and it's just, it's all you need, right? Maybe that, maybe some salt. If it doesn't have salt in it, some do, some don't, right? You'd add your own salt, whether it's chicken wings, chicken thighs, whatever you want to call it. You throw it in the oven, high heat, 45 minutes, and you got some seriously delicious food using only 2 ingredients. Anyway, I mention all of that because I was sent some spice samples from the good folks at Spice Madam. Hello, Madame. Spice Madam, your passport to culinary adventure. And that's the truth. That's exactly the point that I'm making. People are bored with their own food? Never. Get some spice blends, people. If you go to spicemadam.com, you'll find things like biryani masala. You might find what I mentioned before, your ras el hanout. And I know what you're thinking. What the hell is that, Rob? It's ras el hanout. Ras el hanout is a Moroccan Arabic spice blend that has things in it like, now think about how many of these you have. Seriously, think about how many of these you have in your in your little spice cabinet of stuff that's been sitting in there for 1.5 years. We should talk about that, but throw it away after 6 months. If you're not, honestly, if you got a bottle of something and you haven't used it for 6 months, generally speaking, by now, it's going to be pretty tasteless. Generally, not everything, but if it comes from a flower, it loses potency, just as you do. What's in ras el hanout? Coriander seeds, cumin seeds, chili flakes, cinnamon, paprika, cardamom, ginger, turmeric, blah, 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 blah. Rob, what would I do if I actually had some ras el hanout? Like, how would I use it? That's a good question. Here's what I do. I bake sweet potatoes. I buy a big old bag of sweet potatoes. You know where I buy them, don't you? Costco. Huge! Giant sweet potatoes. Anyway, they go in the oven. Can't screw those up too much, right? Your oven is on 450. You open it up an hour later, and you got some sweet potatoes. How hard is that? The thing about sweet potatoes, one of your 10 superfoods, seriously, just loaded with nutrients. Rob, give me the top 10 foods in the world in terms of health and nutrition. I'm telling you. I'm pretty sure sweet potatoes on the list. It's great. It's also delicious. Like the best part of the sweet potato, my friends, is that if you added nothing to it, it would still be good. I can't say that about almost any food in the world. Almost every food in the world, with very, very few exceptions, clam and oyster being notable, needs something to bring out its taste. That sweet potato was good. That said, a touch of salt. Not going to hurt you. Now, before you go, butter? Yeah, sure, of course. Or you say olive oil? Sure. Why not? I'm going to tell you this. Pull the sweet potato out of the oven. Cut it down the middle. Woo! It's hot. So hot. Damn. Pinch of salt. And a nice pinch of Ras El Hanout. Mash it up with a fork. And just, it's beautiful. It's so lovely. It's so fragrant. It's so delicious. Ras El Hanout. You can get that at Spice Madam if you want. You can get red chili. You can get curry powder. You can get lavender. Now, here's the thing about French lavender. The thing about French lavender is if somebody said to me, name like your top 3 smells, fragrances in the whole world, I'm telling you, French lavender is on that list. I'm going to say vanilla number 3, French lavender number 2, and the smell of pizza in the oven number 1. I like a fireplace, sure. That apple pie in the oven, that cinnamon, that's good. But I'll tell you what, you can get French lavender here at the Spice Madam, and the thing about it is, like, I'm not sure that I mean, you can cook with it. I know it's in food. Sometimes it's in Herbes de Provence, which is the Southwest France version of a blend of spices that come from Provence. You cannot go wrong with Herbes de Provence. 10 beautiful flavors, sometimes including lavender. Anyway, not all, but a lot of this stuff is available to you at spicemadam.com. And the lovely folks have made it for my listeners a discount of $10 off your subscription of 3 months or greater, including gifts. So, look, I'm sure you could buy these things as a one-off, but if you're one of those people that says, hey, you know what, a subscription would be interesting. I get like a new spice or 2 or 3 every whatever it is, month, 2, 3. Put into your buy box the code Rosenthal10. That'll get you $10 off from the people at spicemadam.com. What else was I going to recommend? I feel like there was one more thing. Oh, my God, yes. I got the pots and pans. I got the knife sharpener. I talked about the spices. Next up, my friends, is a... man, I'm looking at it, and it's very attractive. Very attractive. Stonebridge Orchards. Okay. So here's how it goes, right? Imagine yourself going to a movie theater. And imagine the smell. Because I feel like if I go to a movie theater, I'm going to smell popcorn. And I feel that if I'm going to go sit in a movie, if I happen to be having popcorn, there are 2 things that I think you could make a case for that you want to have when you're having popcorn. And they're both sweet. One is a nice giant, because that's how they serve them now. Like, it's like literally 48 freaking ounces of Coca-Cola and ice and the straw and the free refill, as if you want to go into diabetic shock right there in the theater. Anyway, so there's popcorn, and you could have it with a soda. Or, I think the other kind of greatest compliment to salty popcorn is something that is that's super sweet. So chocolate. Now, what's your chocolate? If you go to a movie theater right now, right, and there's and nothing matters anymore. Like, you're not in the January mode of I better not. You're not in any kind of dietary restriction. You're not a pain in the ass, right? I'm going to a movie. I'm going to have some popcorn and some chocolate. What's your chocolate? That's my question. What's your chocolate? Do you want to go with they don't sell Chunkies there, but obviously you're going to get like obviously there are things like, I don't know, what do they have in the theaters these days? I'm sure there's going to be like a Milky Way and other kind of bars, and there's 1,000 different types of bars. Sometimes you can get stuff frozen. I like that frozen Milky Way bar before they turned it into ice cream. But I'll tell you what, back in the day, as my people say, back in the day, Raisinets. Ooh, Raisinets, not a bad thing to have in the movie theater, a box of Raisinets with your popcorn. Okay, cut. 2019. What if you're an adult? and you're looking for something that's kind of like reminiscent of M&M's, but at the same time, it's like M&M's times 10. It's like no, not M&M's, like Raisinets. It's like Raisinets times 10. It's Raisinets on steroids. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Stone Ridge Orchards. Hello! First of all, I'm big on the dark chocolate. I get that not everybody is. And whether or not you believe in its antioxidant properties, you know, I'm a dark chocolate dude. I'm fine with that. But I'm going to say, I don't know, what do they got? They got 70%, and all this stuff is 70%. It looks dark to me. I'm going to tell you what I had. Yeah, I've had the dark chocolate. The thing is, they make it in like multiple, let's see. Well, let's not see. I don't want to waste your time. I'm going to tell you this, that if you take your Raisinette and you take it to the power of 10, and you go Stone Ridge Orchards, dark chocolate covered strawberries. Oh, I can't even. Or you go dark chocolate covered blueberries. Or you go dark chocolate covered Montmorency cherries. Okay. I know that they make like other coverings, so not everything is going to be dark chocolate. If you're one of those people that has a problem with dark chocolate, I don't. But whatever they're covering it with, whether it's dark chocolate or milk chocolate, or I believe I've had some yogurt covered product. This is outstanding, this product. I have no problem recommending this. I don't know where to tell you to buy it. I feel like I've seen it in my own Costco. I'm pretty sure you can figure out online where to buy it. But what you're looking for is Stone Ridge Orchards, and they do a blueberries dried, cherries dried, strawberries dried, dipped in chocolate. I'm sorry, I can't. It's open. I'm going to have one right now. Just bear with me because this is just like too exciting. These things are. Excuse me while I chew. But there's chocolate gushing. I'm chewing on the strawberries. Bless you, Stone Ridge Orchards. Yeah, that's good. Those are my recommendations for you, my friends. You've got your Stone Ridge Orchards. You have your Spice Madam. That's very good. Rosenthal 10 will get you a discount on like a subscription if you want to do that. Edgekeeper will sharpen your knives, or all recipes. Go to their kitchen line and see what it is. They have great, terrific stuff. What else is happening in the world of food? January 16th, 2019, Rob Rosenthal here with you on All You Can Eat, the podcast about deliciousness. This is episode 42, coming at you solo. I'm glad to be here with you. Thank you for joining. I saw something online today that I would like to refer to. You're probably using too much black pepper. I'm going to do this. Okay, so it's a site. The site is called, bonappetit.com. Article by Molly Baz. Everything you cook needs salt, but pepper, not so much. Molly writes an article about salt and pepper, and she says about salt, and it's all you really need to know. Everything you cook needs salt. I got to be honest. Other than the way that I make clams or oysters, pretty much everything that you make does need salt. It is what brings out flavor in food. And Molly is correct also that while pepper is lovely, it's not salt. It's not required on every single thing that you make all the time. There are certain foods that are fantastic with black pepper. You know, if you want to make, for example, the famous pasta dish called cacio e pepe, that is literally a cheese and crushed black peppers, right? So, you know, that there is no cacio and pepe without pepper, right? Here's another one. You make a filet au poivre, like a steak with a peppercorn sauce. That's great. I make, and I don't do it a lot, but I mean, Thanksgiving, I will make pink peppercorn biscuits. And so in all of these cases, the cacio, the biscuits, I made actually recently some scallops with that where I had crushed up black and, you know, pink peppercorns and whatever. I'm not gonna recommend that one, you know, like the scallop au poivre, because I think the scallops can kind of the peppers can overwhelm. But the point of the story is that pepper's great when it's, you know, when it flavors a meal, and you could use it and you could love it all you want. But I think her point in the article, and I don't agree, is that you don't have to use it on everything. And I agree with that, right? So if I'm going to make a steak, and I'll do it in cast iron. I know I didn't mention this before when we were talking about the pots and pans from All-Clad. I think everybody should have a cast iron pan. It's not expensive and it's great. The only thing you can't do with cast iron is you can't saute, right? Because cast iron is heavy, man. It's going to sit there. But it's beautiful because it takes heat. It holds heat. It distributes heat. It makes things like crispy. I love cast iron. So I'm going to make a steak, in fact. That cast iron is going to be as hot as it can get. It's on super high heat, and I've let the flame go for a while, and the place is smoking, and there's no oil, there's no lubrication, there's just smoke coming off of the cast iron pan, and all I put on my steak is a coarse salt, like a kosher salt, on both sides, aggressively. I don't actually put the pepper on the steak before I put it in the cast iron. Of course, the other advantage of the cast iron is that after you sear it on top of the oven, you could finish it if you wanted to in the oven, right? Just move the cast iron pan. But the bigger point is, I don't really use pepper. I might use it after. Like, I might sprinkle on some after the fact. I don't care. If a steak is good, salt is plenty good. She writes a whole article. Her article is on that. Salt important, don't argue. Peppercorn, not so much. People also, by the way, are spending a lot of money on pink salt. I mean, God bless you. If that turns you on, fine. There's really no, I mean, I hate to burst anybody's bubble. Pink salt is salt. I think they call it NaCl, sodium chloride. You're not gonna, it doesn't make a difference. Honestly. I mean, if you're happy with it and you're getting it like Home Goods, you know, for $4.99, that's good for you. If you're paying a lot of money for pink salt, not necessary. Kosher salt, fine. Molded sea salt, great. I found some recipes. Let me just see if this is one of them. carbonara, because that probably uses, black pepper. Well, that's really the point here. I'm going to skip the carbonara. Let's see, cloud eggs. I thought that was interesting. I got some recipes, and they're from from an egg company, so they're egg recipes. But I thought this was interesting because 4 ingredients, not counting, your pepper. To be honest with you, it's kind of funny. That's why I'm coming to this. I like a 4-ingredient recipe, even though there's a lot of steps here, more steps than I would normally use. I'm looking at a picture of what they call cloud eggs. Never heard of it. Never made it. But a light and dreamy way to enjoy your eggs. The picture of it is just fantastic. And you can see why they call it cloud eggs, because the yolk, the beautiful, outstanding yolk, is sitting in what appears to be a white cloud, which is the white of the egg. And like I said, not a ton of ingredients, right? So this appeals to me. 4 and pepper, right? 4 eggs. And again, with the eggs, do the best you can in terms of get the best ingredients that you can. So get good eggs. Wherever you get your good eggs, get them. 4 of them. 1/2 cup grated Gruyere cheese. I would say Gruyere cheese. I'm in deep love. On my top 10 list, maybe 5. Love the Gruyere. So you need some 4 organic eggs, 1/2 cup of Gruyere that's grated, 1/3 of a cup of a chopped green onion. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about some scallions. You get a bunch of scallions, right? You chop it up. And 4 slices of bacon that are cooked and chopped finely. That's all the ingredients, plus, and this is why I came to this recipe, 1/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper, which is a lot. Now, check out this idea. So I generally give you concepts so that you can go, oh, that's appealing to me. In this case, I'm going to take you through cloud eggs simply because there aren't a ton of ingredients, but there are way too many steps. Here's what they are. Separate the eggs. And they're saying transfer the whites to a stand mixer. So you're going to need something whether it's a stand mixer. I mean, I don't know how many people have a stand mixer, but you're going to have to blend the hell out of the whites, right? Because you're going to want to make them fluffy. In fact, step 2, beat the whites until stiff peaks form, right? So you're beating the whites so much with a machine, some type of blending machine, that they begin to kind of firm up into, and they have peaks. Fold in the cheese and green onions to the egg whites. Spoon the egg whites into a nonstick baking mat into 4 rounds. What's a baking mat? This is already getting complicated, but it's, what do you call when it doesn't stick? Baking mat. I suppose you could probably do it on parchment. You just don't want it to stick. Create small indentations in the egg white and season with pepper. A lot of pepper, apparently, because it's 1/4 teaspoon. Bake in the oven for 3 minutes. At that point, put the egg yolk into each mound and put it back in the oven for another 3 minutes. Garnish with some chopped bacon and more of that green onion. Serve. Step 9, serve it once. Do you really need to tell me to serve it once? Yeah. That's not going to last long. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Here's another place, here's another recipe that uses eggs. And it is your pasta carbonara, one of the classic Italian preparations. What makes carbonara is basically what I would call bacon and eggs. Now, while you could use bacon as a viable substitute, the truth of the matter is, if you're fortunate to have near you a store that sells, for example, Italian goods, what you're looking for actually is called guanciale. Guanciale. Guanciale is more of your Italian bacon product coming from the, I'm pointing to it on my face, the jowls of the pig. But if you wanted to make carbonara in the kind of the classical way, you would use spaghetti or bucatini or rigatoni, something like that, pasta-wise. A half a pound of guanciale that's cut into kind of 1-inch pieces. You're going to need some eggs. You're going to need 4 yolks. You're going to need a couple of regular, eggs on top of that. You need a cup of cheese. Parmesan or Romano would work, finely grated. And then, of course, your salt and black pepper. So the way that you would make the carbonara is you're going to make some spaghetti in very salted water. You're going to reserve, by the way, literally a cup and a half of that pasta water before you drain it. You're going to cook the guanciale down, right? The bacon. It's going to be over medium heat. You're going to do it till it's crisp. So you're looking at 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes. Not a high heat. It's medium heat. All of a sudden, you're rendering out fat. Bacon or guanciale is getting a little crisp. Everybody's happy. You drain most of the fat from that thing, but you do leave a couple of tablespoons of fat in the skillet. And then in a separate bowl, right, you're going to mix together your egg yolks and your eggs, right? So you're talking about 4 yolks with a couple of eggs, so it's very yellow and rich and fabulous. And then you're going to gradually, into that egg mix, you're going to mix in a half a cup of the pasta water. Why? Why are you mixing in pasta water? Because that's going to literally prevent the eggs from scrambling. I believe the technique is called tempering, but that's neither here nor there. And then you're going to take the pasta and you're going to add it to the skillet that has the bacon with a little bit of that fat in it. Then you're going to pour in the egg mixture. You're going to toss the whole thing well. And then all of a sudden goes in a cup of cheese and some salt and some pepper. And you're going to stir this thing for a minute or two until everything is kind of thickened up a bit and the pasta is all well coated. And you look at it and you go, if it's a little too thick, that's easy. You take a little bit of that additional reserved pasta cooking water up to like a whole, it could use a half a cup, use a cup of it, and mix it all together. That's the sauce you're making. And you got some extra cheese. You can serve it with some extra cheese on top if you want. Now, it's a classic and a beautiful pasta dish, but you can also make it. I'm offering this up because it is mid-January, and, well, whatever, that's neither here nor there. You could make a vegetarian version. And look it up. In New York Times cooking section, vegetarian carbonara. You make it with spinach. In which case, oil, onion, garlic, same pound of pasta. Spaghetti is good. Butter, a pound of baby spinach, red pepper flakes, great if you want. To give it a little hit of, woo! Hey now! Hey now! 3/4 of a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. I get mine at the Costco. They don't pay me. I need a tablespoon of lemon juice from you. And then a half a cup of cheese. What kind of cheese? Provolone, smoked provolone or Gouda. Like cheesy, kind of hard hard cheese. To do that, for those of you who are interested in cooking, here's what you need to do. You put your oil in a nonstick pan or skillet over medium heat. Add onion and garlic, stirring it occasionally. It's light golden. You're looking at 4 or 5 minutes. Step 2 of 3. Cook the pasta in some salted water. You know how salted that water is? It tastes like the ocean. Way more salt in your boiling water when you make pasta than you can even imagine. But do it. Salt matters. You're going to cook your pasta till it's al dente. Reserve 2 cups of your cooking water. Drain the pasta. Return the pasta and the reserved cooking water to the pot and heat over low. Add butter. Add onion garlic mixture, stirring constantly until most of the liquid is absorbed and the sauce is slightly thickened. 3 to 5 minutes. Add spinach. Season with salt, pepper, red pepper flakes until the spinach is wilted. Hit it up now with the Parmesan cheese and the lemon juice and the salt and the pepper. And then, there you go. Divide the pasta into 4 bowls and top each with 2 tablespoons of the smoked cheese that you like. And hit it up with some more, speaking of which, black pepper. Vegetarian, carbonara with spinach. What could be wrong with that? My friends, there was some more to cover. We had some more to cover tonight. Meyer Lemon Gin Fizz. That would have been a lovely cocktail, also using an egg. Could have told you, because it was Meyer lemons, that they're a little bit different from your conventional lemons, in that they're not quite as pucker up. They taste lemony. They have some acidity, but significantly less than your basic lemons. Did not get a chance to cover a couple of the other subjects that I had in mind, but you know what? The time went by. Our time together on Wednesday evening went by, talking about some products that we really like, some recipes that look really, really good, some tools and things like that you may want to consider, and spices and bites that you may want to consider eating. And in general, deliciousness. I thank you for being here with me. And I'll be back next Wednesday night around this time, which is 8 p.m. Next week, which will be episode number 43, we have a guest. His name is Dan Myers. So sorry. Still recovering. Dan Myers is the senior editor over at the Daily Meal. It's one of the large mega sites in the food and wine business. Dan and I are going to talk some food, hamburgers. We're going to talk about steaks. We're going to talk about sandwiches. We're going to talk about pizza. What's better than that? Answer? Not a thing. I mentioned it before. I'll mention it now. Peppercorn biscuits are a recipe in my cookbook. Cacio e pepe, the classic Roman pasta dish with cheese, Roman pecorino cheese and pepper. God, it's good. 3 ingredients. In my cookbook, eggs, frittatas, desserts, main course fish, whatever. If you don't have it, I'm telling you, I think for $10, it's worth it. It's easy for me to recommend it. The reviews have been very strong. And it's still selling. On Amazon, on Walmart, Barnes & Nobles. It's called Short Order Dad. One guy's guide to making food fun and hassle-free, because that's the way I roll. Most taste, fewest ingredients, least effort. That's how I cook. My friends, back next Wednesday night at 8 p.m. with All You Can Eat. Until then, remember this, life is short, so never waste a meal.
I'm the Teflon Pan Man. I'm the Teflon Pan Man. Ain't nothing gonna stick on